Well, good morning. Good to see you on this Labor Day weekend. This is awesome. Can you believe it? Man, I know why you're here today, though. It's the AC, isn't it? Right? I knew it. I knew it. So should I just go like an hour longer, just so we all stay in the? I'm teasing. As my wife said, thank you for making Obi-Wan a part of your weekend. If you don't know me yet, my name is Chris. I'm one of the pastors here. Hey, I don't know about your middle school years. I want you to think back to your middle school years for a moment. But my middle school years were tougher than my high school years. And one of the reasons for that is because one time when I was in middle school, I was interacting with someone at school, and we had a really big misunderstanding. And instead of the person coming to me to talk to me about it, he started labeling me as something and started spreading it around to other people. And it was a really bad label. It was a very devastating label to me. In fact, when I went home that evening, I still remember it to this day. I remember going home at the end of the day, looking in the mirror, and I started crying to myself because I was just devastated by what this person, the label he put on me. And it was spreading around, and people were making fun of me, and it wasn't true. And I just thought to myself, like, man, is this it? Is it over with? Thankfully, it all worked out in the end, but that was really, really hard for me. If I could admit to you, I hope I've grown in this since my middle school years. I can still be affected by what people think of me. I can still be affected by the opinions that other people have of me. Again, I hope I've grown from it. But now I want you to get personal for a moment. It doesn't have to be your middle school years. Have you ever struggled with maybe an opinion or a label that someone else has placed on you? And to the point where it really does affect your identity. Our identities are very, very, very important, and we're going to find that out today. And we have to realize that our identity is not about our past or our trauma or our current hardship. It's not about how we view ourselves. Maybe you've never had a low opinion placed on you, but you have a low opinion of yourself. That's not all about your identity either. But what starts to happen, whether it's the hardship or someone else or how we view ourselves, we start to label ourselves in a way, and an identity starts to mold itself. And before you know it, we can be really struggling internally with some things. But, if we know who we are in Jesus, and the identity that He has placed on us, not only will we'll be more at peace with ourselves in our interactions with others, our identity can also affect our actions, our behaviors, and our abilities, and they can flow out of that identity. And like we've been talking about, it will help us look more and more like Jesus and the people He's created us to be. And so today I'm really excited, but I want you to do something. I want you to be praying right now. God, would you whisper your identity of me into me? I've had way too many other things, whether it's my own opinion of myself or other people or my hardships. There have been things my whole life shouting at me, this is who you are. Can you help me to block that today so I can just listen to who I am in you? Because that's what really matters. And so through looking at 1 Peter 2 today, we're going to learn what God has to say about us. We're going to learn about our identity and how that can actually direct what we do and how we live. Okay? Now, before we read another piece of his letter, I want to remind you, we've been saying this a lot of weeks because it's so important. These people were under really hard times. And that's very important to remember that they were under hard times. Here's why. a lot of times under hard times, like I already said, that can even affect our identity negatively. And it can also affect our view of God negatively when we continue to experience hard times. I mean, think about it. Say that you've had a trauma in your life or some kind of wound or hurt, and you're trying to get past it, but then another difficulty comes into your life. We can get to a point where we're like, yep, here's just another struggle, the broken one, the messed up one. And we have to remind ourselves that that's not my identity. I may be struggling right now, but I'm God's kid, and He's here with me right now. He cares about me during this. Because if we're not careful, we can get a victim's mentality. You've heard that statement before. When our identity starts to get mixed into our hardships, or maybe we look at someone else and we're like, man, they seem to like never struggle. And if you're seeing that, you're probably just seeing their social media posts. That's probably all you're focused on. You don't know them beyond that, most likely. But we can even get to a point like, they're not struggling. Why is God allowing me to struggle? Are they more valuable than me? And the list can go on and on and on. But here's the cool thing. Peter was about to help these people understand what their identity was and who God made them and destined them to be. But here's the key. Peter wrote it and he spoke it, but it would be up to them whether they were going to believe it or not. Would they believe in the identity that Jesus was trying to give them, or would they believe in the identity that the hardship was trying to tempt them into? And guess what? You and I, we have the same choice today. Who are we going to believe? Well, let's read it to discover what it is, because it's so cool. Remember, really be praying that God will speak to your spirit. 1 Peter 2 says this, "But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession." Now, we've focused on a couple of these identities throughout the series, a chosen people and how awesome that is. Pastor Julian did a great job of that more in the beginning of the series. We talked about being a holy nation. And so I want to address today this one. Can you believe that God calls you, if you're in Jesus, can you believe that God calls you royal priest? Whoa! I can't pray. I'm not the pastor. I don't have special access to God. I'm not the pastor. I can't understand the Bible. I didn't go to seminary. I'm not the pastor. While it may not be your profession, if you have a relationship with Jesus, you're a priest. Say it with me. I'm a priest. With conviction, I'm a priest. That's who you are. That's part of your identity. Now, priests are and were known for having special access to God. And by giving you this identity, God's trying to hint at you, you do have special access to me through Jesus. You can be close to me. It doesn't just have to happen through a pastor. Yes, a pastor can guide and spiritual leaders can help, but you can feel close to me just through your words. You can understand. It's not just pastors and religious leaders. You can understand the Bible. You can talk with me. Do you see how critical it is that we see ourselves the same way that your Maker sees us? Knowing who you are builds confidence in us to even interact with God in a different way. It's like, I can do this. Because we're royal priests. Again, that's who you are. You're a priest. God says that you can make a difference. And I want you to think about it. You want to make a difference too. Many times the people that I meet often that are most frustrated are people that just feel like life's starting to get monotonous and getting the best of them, and they're really not making a difference anymore. So God wants us to make a difference, and we want to make a difference. So let's look back at 1 Peter. According to our identity, how can we make a difference? That's why it's so important. Say it with me, guys. I'm a priest. Yes. By the end, you're going to really get convicted. But you're like, yes, I am a priest, baby. You're going to be shouting on the streets, going to lunch. People are like, who are you? I'm teasing, of course. But let's look back in 1 Peter 2. It says this, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness and into his wonderful light. Once you were not a people, but look at it says, now you are a people of God. That's another identity of yours. You're in Jesus, you're a person of God. Once you had not received mercy, now you have received mercy. So, because you're a priest, because you want to make a difference, here's how you can. Okay, number one, reveal Jesus through my story. See, our negative identity is starting to pop up again. It's like, I can't share Jesus. I'm not the pastor. I would wet my pants if I got up here right now and started speaking, right? I would faint. I would just be like, my throat would constrict on me. Guys, do you know that public speaking is just one of millions of ways to reveal Jesus to other people? It's okay that you don't have a public speaking gift. You are a priest and you can reveal Jesus to others. Here's another one we have. I can't share Jesus. I don't understand the Bible enough. What did we just talk about? You're a priest. You can understand the Bible more as he helps you and helps you gain confidence. But can I say, most aren't looking for you to know the Bible through and through. They just want to know how Jesus has made a difference in your life. That's it. They're not looking for the 90 verses that you, quote unquote, don't know. They're just looking for, how has Jesus changed your life? How has he made a difference? Guys, share your story. You're God's priest. Stories are powerful. Stories matter. This is how much stories matter, okay? How powerful they are. We, as the United States, this is not around the world, okay? From 2009 to 2019, we, as the United States, collectively spent $10 billion at the movie box office every year. Not 10 billion total over 10 years, 10 billion every single year. Why do we love movies? It's a story. It's a story that we relate to. In fact, some of you probably have a favorite movie. I want you to think about that favorite movie because I'm going to have you shout it at me when I count to 3. But before you do, I will reveal my favorite movie of all time, and it better be yours too. No, I'm just teasing. It doesn't have to be. But oh my gosh, Back to the Future. Most favorite movie of all time. I love it so much. I have the complete trilogy right here. It is awesome. Doc Brown, the DeLorean. Where's the DeLorean? There's the DeLorean. Woo! Marty McFly. Hello, McFly. Anybody home? Oh, it's amazing. Don't make fun of me if it's not your favorite movie, okay? We're not here to judge. We're here to love. So on the count of 3, you shout your favorite movie to me. 1, 2, 3. Do one more time. 1, 2, 3. I heard airplane somewhere in there. That is awesome. So anyways, do you see? Why do we love movies? The story is powerful. We can relate. Guys, can I encourage you? Share your faith story. It doesn't have to be like this in this setting. It can be face-to-face, speaking with someone one-on-one. And get this, they had a study out once, and it revealed that the majority, not everyone, but the majority of people would be willing to get into faith conversations if they know this about you. And it's really important. They're willing to hear your faith story and get into a conversation with you if they know this, if you will listen without judging them. And doesn't that kind of make sense? I know God is a good judge, but I don't want to be judged negatively by other people. I want them to listen to me without judgment, right? Maybe you do it in a group setting. You're good in you're not good in this setting, but you're good in a group of 3 to 4 to 5. Or maybe you're more of an introvert and you want to write down your story and you want to email it to people, or you want to send a letter to people, or using social media. There's so many different ways that you can share your story. Why? Because you're a what? Priest. You're a priest. Now, let me give you a life hack on how you can share your story in just a minute or two. And it's very simple. It's a very simple breakdown. And think of BC and AC, okay? BC means before Christ, and AC means after Christ. So basically, it's like, who was I before Christ? This is how I met Jesus. This is who I am now. Let me give you my example. I did not want to spend eternity without God. I did not. It was bothering me, and my mom found out that it was bothering me, and she said, Chris, you don't have to spend eternity without God. Just ask Jesus to forgive you. And so with my mom, in that moment, I asked Jesus to forgive me. And now, the way Jesus has changed me, I have a hope that I will live with God someday. That's my story. Very simple. And now I have a purpose to help other people find God, that hope in God as well. But your story is not my story. Your story could be, you know what, I really came from a broken family. And that brokenness, even when I left my family, when I got old enough to leave the home, that brokenness stayed with me. And I just kind of, even through my successes, I still kind of felt lost. And I tried to chase things through relationships and other healthy things. And then one day, someone shared with me about the love and grace of Jesus. And then I accepted him and asked him to forgive me. And while things aren't perfect now, I know who to go to who can help me be whole. That's it. This is who I was. This is how I met Jesus. This is how he's helped me now. Now, I don't want to oversimplify this. Sometimes it takes decades and many introductions to Jesus' love and grace for someone to come to Christ. The point is, your story doesn't have to take decades. You know the person I'm talking about, right? That just keeps talking and talking and talking and talking. And we have one of those in the family, and God bless this person, so we love them to death, but we know when they're starting a story. We have this tease now in our family, and it's this: in 1970, it all started with, because we know we're going to get all the details all the time. Obviously, I'm just having fun. But it doesn't have to be long or drawn out. So, and I hope that this speaks to your heart. Do you know that someone coming to Jesus because of you is way, way more likely than someone coming to Jesus because of a pastor? Whoa, what? How is that? Let me show an example of this. Daniel, I know you quite well. We've had some good conversations. We are both diehard Bills fans for football. Woo! Do I know every family member and friend of yours? David, I know you. Now, we have a nemesis in football. He likes the Patriots, I like the Bills, but we still love each other. So we have a relationship. We've hung out. Do I know all of your family and friends? I will never. Me and Pastor Julian will most likely never know most of the people in your life that you do. And even if we do meet them, they're going to trust you, not us. And here's why. We're supposed to say it. That's the pastor. Of course he's supposed to say it. They know you're the one that's had an authentic change in your life. Your story is going to be more believable. Now, I'm not going to talk about it a lot because Robin already did, but can I encourage you? Check out that Contagious Faith course that's starting, not this Thursday, but next Thursday. It's going to show you how to naturally share your faith in a style that fits you. Not the pastor's way, not the public speaking way, in a style that fits you. And can I say this? While it's good to ask God for the timing, and we're not talking about, throwing Bibles at people, and, we really need to discern if a person's ready or not. But can I say, you're a priest, and you can share your story with others. And it will be way, way more effective than if they heard 100 messages from a pastor, because they trust you. Let's see another way, since we're priests, right? Remember, that's our identity, how we can make a difference. It says this in 1 Peter 2. It says, dear friends, can you hear the urgency? He's like, I urge you, the desperation. As foreigners and exiles, he's reminding them of their hardship. Not to throw it in their face, but to say, hey, in spite of this hardship, I want you to live a certain way, to abstain from sinful desires which wage war against your soul. Then he says this, live such good lives among the pagans, that though they accuse you of doing wrong, they may see your good deeds and glorify God on the day he visits. So because you're a priest, and because you want to make a difference, number 2, reveal Jesus through your life. Reveal Jesus through your life. See, another thing that priests are known for is that they represent God before others. They're an extension of him. And again, you're his priest. You can represent Jesus and are an extension of him to others. And one of the ways you can reveal Jesus is through the way you live. You're like, I can't reveal God to others. I'm not perfect. That's not what Peter says. He doesn't say live a perfect life. He says live a good life. Guys, people aren't expecting perfection. They're just wanting to see the heart of Jesus through your life. And guess what? That's what you have. The Bible tells us that this is our identity, that we're new creatures. We're new in God. And that he's given us his heart. So we have his heart. You're a follower of Jesus, you're God's kid, and you're a royal priest. Another thing that priests used to do in Old Testament times is they'd make animal sacrifices. But thank God for Jesus, he became the ultimate sacrifice, because Sundays be looking a little different if we were still under that. It's like, oh my gosh, my cat, my dog. Like, oh no. Whatever, your turtle, I don't know. Whatever you love, your goldfish, flush it down the toilet now. No, I'm just teasing. But thank God for Jesus. He's the ultimate sacrifice. So since Jesus is the ultimate sacrifice, how can we sacrifice ourselves today? Thank God we're not under that old system anymore. Well, the Bible tells us, and again, it's one of these urgings that it's asking for again. It says this in Romans 12, therefore what? I urge you, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do you see it? As royal priests, do you see it? The way we sacrifice today is simply offering ourselves to God. It's simply, you notice it doesn't say, because you're a royal priest, you're forced to. You have to. No, we offer. we offer ourselves to God. God, I'm so thankful for what you did through Jesus. Would you help me serve you and others well? And isn't that something priests do? They serve others and attend to people's needs. God, help me to offer myself to others with whether that's my time or my resources, my mind, my energy, my heart, my encouragement. Lord, help me to have a faith that changes the way that I interact with people. You know, maybe for some of you, God wants you to be a priest at work. See, we get this identity. I'm a CEO. And God's saying, you're a priest that just so happens to be a CEO. You're a priest that just so happens to be a plumber. You're a priest that just so happens to be a computer engineer. Maybe God's calling you to be a priest at work. Maybe for some of you, he's calling you to be a priest in your neighborhood. Hey, there are reasons why you're living by who you're living by. It isn't just random. I've placed you here for a reason. You're my priest in this neighborhood. Maybe some of you, he's calling you to serve at Obi-Wan Church in some way. Maybe he's calling you to be a priest to friends. It's like, hey, the friends that you have, that's no accident. I've known about them, and you can be a priest to them. But whatever God's asking you, how he's asking you to be a priest, can I just encourage you with a couple things? Start with one. It's like, oh my gosh, all my work, all my neighbor. No. Start with one. Maybe God's bringing someone to your mind right now. Hey, be a priest to that person. And can I also say, start small. We think it has to always be these big, gigantic things. And most people are just like, thank you for being there. Or thank you for checking in. Or thank you for standing by my side when no one else would. Thank you for offering prayer. No one ever asks me for stuff like that. May we all have the heart of Mother Teresa. She says, not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love. Start with one. Maybe it's small. Maybe it's praying for your boss. Even if you don't like them that much, pray for them. Pray for their stress level. Pray that they will lead well. Maybe it's praying for a coach. And again, we're not talking about going into work, bashing Bibles over people's heads. Just pray for people. Pray for your coworkers. Connect with someone in your neighborhood. Maybe God's wanting you to become a greeter or a children's helper at Obi-Wan Church, or take a friend out to lunch just to check in on them and pray to God about how a spiritual conversation can start. And don't be overwhelmed. You notice in the verse, it actually says we're a royal priesthood. We can do these things together. Now, I know not in every situation, work, some things you might be doing it alone, but you can take someone with you. Hey, you want to come hang out with my friend? They don't know God yet, and I just want someone there with me where we're sharing our stories and loving on that person. Because we're a royal priesthood. As we hit the 2-minute warning on this message, I have 2 questions for you. Number 1, who do I need to share my story with? Guys, your story is powerful, and it will matter to someone. We're not talking about the world. We're not talking about everyone at work, all of your neighborhood, just one. Who do I need to share my story with? And then number 2, who may be watching my life? And I don't mean that in a negative creeper, like someone's watching your life. I mean it in the way of like, who could you encourage? Who can you pray with? Who might be watching your life and thinking, they're a little bit different? I don't mean that in the weird way. They're drawn to it. And if you were just to connect with them or talk with them a little bit, possible spiritual conversations would begin, and you could help them in some way. What are you? Say it again. You are a priest. Yes. Guys, we are extensions of God. We represent him. And I don't Please, this is not a pressure thing. You are a priest, okay? What I'm about to say, it's not pressure. You might be the only example of Jesus someone ever sees. But you don't have to be scared by that, because they're not looking for perfection, and they're not looking for all the answers. They just want to know how Jesus has changed your life. And if you listen without judgment, many, the majority, are willing to get into faith conversations with you. Do you see? Guys, God's calling you to make a difference. And like I said at the beginning, you have the same choice Peter's audience did. So I ask you one more time, will you believe the identity that Jesus is giving you? You're my priest. You can do this. Or will we believe an identity that either we've placed on ourselves or that others have placed on us? I know that you can do this. In fact, this is important. Can we bow our heads and pray about this together? Guys, I want you to think for a moment about the identity that you see of yourself or that others have placed on you. And if that doesn't align with God's identity, ask God to rid it from your mind. It might be a process, but let it start today. You are His chosen people. You're a special possession to God. You're a royal priest. Anything less and you're just believing the lie, just get rid of it. As heads are bowed and eyes are closed before we take communion together, as I was praying for this message this week, I felt that God wanted me to share this during our prayer time. I don't know if it was for someone at first service or online or someone in the room, but I hope this speaks to many actually, but He said this to me. He said that I'm trying to call you to something greater, but you won't believe the identity that I have for you. And again, He's saying this in a very loving, graceful way. You won't believe the identity that I have for you, which has you stuck living the way you currently are. I can help you get unstuck. Just believe the identity that I've given to you.